Recently, Nintendo announced that they are going to be producing a Legend of Zelda movie, and fans across the globe rejoiced at the idea of one of their favorite intellectual properties getting a chance to be on the big screen. Then they kept reading, and it's gonna be live action.
Oh my god! Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Hey guys, it's Leech, and today I want to rant about the incredibly divisive decisions that Nintendo is about to make. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but my social media feeds have been flooded with the news about this movie, and it seems that collectively, most people are on the same page. Live action is going to be a really tough sell for this franchise. Is this movie dead on arrival, or will it surpass all odds and be a truly great film? Well, let's talk about that. If we take a look back at cinema history, it's pretty easy to see that movies based on video games typically don't do very well at the box office. Some examples are the Mortal Kombat movies, the Doom movie, Monster Hunter, Tomb Raider, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Nope, not that one. This one. These movies, at best, are novel, hour-and-a-half popcorn flicks, and at worst, complete schlock. That's not to say that all video game-based movies are flops, though. Resident Evil seems to be doing well, they made 85 of those. Silent Hill was a fun movie. Detective Pikachu made a ton of money. The Angry Birds movie, does that even count? That's an app. Sonic the Hedgehog, and most recently, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Yes, that one. So all hope isn't lost. The fact that it's a movie based on a video game isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that these movies don't typically reach the upper echelons of box office returns. The nail in the coffin of this hypothetical Zelda movie, I think, is that it's going to be live action. In the past, we've seen live action adaptations of other franchises, and I can confidently say that it's just about always a bad idea. Don't believe me? What did you think about Avatar: The Last Airbender? Or Netflix's adaptation of Death Note? Oh, and let's not forget about a timeless classic like Dragon Ball Evolution. Yeah, these are all horrible movies. They're all unfaithful reimaginings of highly regarded IPs. Abominations that seem to solely exist to spit in the face of the fans they tricked into watching them. Okay, that last part was a little mean. If you enjoyed any of these movies, that's perfectly fine. I have my fair share of cringe movies that I love too. They're guilty pleasures. Batman and Robin, the 1997 classic starring George Clooney and Arnold Schwarzenegger, is objectively a terrible movie.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
But I love it. I had a tape of it back in the day that I watched over and over and over. I'm surprised the tape didn't stretch or degrade over time. Not only is Batman and Robin an objectively bad movie, it's a bad live-action adaptation of a comic book superhero. But if we fast forward a little bit to the Christopher Nolan trilogy, these are objectively good adaptations of a comic book superhero.
But Leech, you just said that live-action adaptations are almost always a bad idea.
Yeah, the keywords there are almost always. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy was amazing back in the day, although Spider-Man 3 was kind of a mess. I'd say that comic books have handled the whole live-action thing the best. Although these days I think audiences are sick of Marvel and DC films, and I don't blame them. Please stop making Marvel movies. I'm actually begging you, Hollywood. Please. Anyways, the fact that this Zelda movie is going to be live action and based on a video game series isn't necessarily implicative of its failure. But I'd say the deck is stacked against it. There are some good things going for it though. Nintendo is going to be financing at least 50% of this movie's budget along with Sony, two of the biggest powerhouses in the Japanese entertainment industry, and Nintendo, while they make some occasionally odd decisions with their hardware, do tend to produce quality products. This has been a staple of Nintendo since breaking into and revolutionizing the video game industry. Sony, on the other hand, they are hit and miss. The Spider-Man movies starring Andrew Garfield were universally panned as hot garbage, cheap cash grabs at the beginnings of Marvel mania. But on the other hand, Into the Spider-Verse was praised, and for good reason. It's a visually interesting movie with great characters. If Sony can bring their A game, then this might be a match made in heaven. Only time will tell. I think fans like myself have a few questions though. What would the story be about? Are they going to come up with an entirely original storyline, or are they going to base it off of one of the games? Or will they try to cram multiple games into one plot? Ocarina of Time would be a fairly simple story to squeeze into a movie, but we already know how that's going to end, so I doubt they would pull a story directly from the games. If they decide to make something original, they're going to have to let Nintendo take the reins on that. Any executive producer meddling is going to completely flatline this movie. Speaking of which, Nintendo announced in their press release that Avi Arad would be producing the film, and this has proven to be a pretty divisive decision as well. Mr. Arad has produced a few of the movies I've already mentioned, for better and for worse. Let's take a look at some of the films on his resume. He's worked on the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Oh, but he also worked on the Andrew Garfield movies.
Bruh.
Well, he worked on Iron Man. That was a decent film that definitely jump-started the Marvel craze.
Hey.
Oh no, he worked on Ghost Rider.
Bruh.
Well, he was the producer for some of the earlier X-Men movies. They're a little corny and the plots don't really line up, but overall fun movies. That's strictly nostalgia speaking, by the way. Oh yeah, he also worked on Morbius.
It's Morbin time.
Into the Spider-Verse, though.
Hey.
Uncharted. Wait, they made an Uncharted movie? With Tom Holland? I missed that one. Yeah, Mr. Arad's track record is about as up and down as my love life, and this is definitely not putting fans at ease. Really, it looks like there's going to be about a 50-50 chance that this turns out decent, but producers aren't the only cog in the machine of this Hollywood hellscape. What about the writer? Well, Nintendo seems to have pegged Derek Connolly as their go-to guy, and this is yet another underwhelming decision. Mr. Connolly has been involved with some box office hits in the past, but his resume basically starts and ends with the Jurassic Park reboots. That includes Fallen Kingdom, which was the last one I saw in theaters, and based on what I saw, likely the last new Jurassic Park movie I'll ever see. Okay, so the producer and the writer are a mixed bag. Surely Nintendo is going to choose a decent director to tie all this together. No, they're not. They've chosen Wes Ball as the director, the guy who made the Maze Runner trilogy. Wait, they made 3 of those? Really? I watched the first one once. I don't really remember much about it. Oh, dude, I hate this lineup. This is the Hollywood equivalent to a Nightmare blunt rotation, and Nintendo seems to think that this is a good idea. I mean, sure, I get it, the producer and writer have been involved in some major Hollywood blockbusters, and those movies definitely generated tons of money, but those films aren't timeless classics. These guys haven't made anything as prolific as Kubrick, or Tarantino, or the Coen brothers. They make summer popcorn flicks that do well monetarily speaking, but aren't actually great films. And I think that's why everyone's so disappointed about this announcement. The Legend of Zelda series has been a fan favorite for almost 4 decades, and now we're going to watch it become reduced to some bloated budget box office bullshit. And there's no doubt that it's going to be a blue screen CGI nightmare. The Uncanny Valley will be the main star of a film like this. That's just how it's done these days. That's how it's been done for 20 years, and I, for one, am sick of it. And yeah, I'm being harsh. I don't typically enjoy being this cynical. I don't find it to be very productive, especially online. If you've ever watched any of my video game reviews, I try to be fair and balanced and point out flaws in the things I love or good parts about what I hate. I have a soft spot for video games and developers. I don't have a soft spot for Hollywood, or at least modern Hollywood. But let's just say they do everything right. They shot on location, they didn't rely heavily on CGI, and wrote a great character-driven plot. Who do you cast for these characters? I've seen plenty of people suggesting actors for these roles online, and it just never feels right. Zelda and Ganon probably wouldn't be that hard to choose actors for, but Link is an entirely different story. Link is famously a silent protagonist. His character is you. The only defining trait of Link's character is that he's the embodiment of courage. Other than that, he's intentionally always been a blank slate. How do you translate that to the big screen? They're gonna have to give Link a personality, and it's going to be a disaster. Link has to have dialogue. A character famously known for not speaking has to have dialogue. And yes, I understand that canonically Link does speak, we just never hear it, but that's the issue. He is and always has been a silent protagonist. That will not translate well into a movie. Overall, I think that most people recognize that a live-action Zelda movie is just a bad idea. Had Nintendo announced an animated movie and partnered with Hayao Miyazaki, I think we'd all be singing a different tune. For years, we've all seen the Studio Ghibli Zelda crossover images. Hell, there's only a few degrees of separation between Zelda and Princess Mononoke. Now that would be a film. but maybe I'm biased. Let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions for actors, or if maybe you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel for this movie. Thanks for listening to me rant, guys. If you like what I have to say, maybe consider liking this video and subscribing. I typically make videos covering some of my favorite games, although I haven't made a video in like 2 months. Sorry guys, life's been a bit crazy lately, but I'm gonna get back at it. I legitimately enjoy making these videos, and it feels good to be back behind the mic and back editing videos. Anyways, yeah, thanks guys, peace.